Good evening. This is Samuel, and in this video on my ENTJ series, I'll be covering loyalty testing. For any who are not familiar with this, loyalty testing effectively refers to the idea of basically gut checking someone or intentionally testing someone or observing them in order to try and get a better read on this individual. This is a phenomena commonly observed in ENTJs as well as, if I remember correctly, ESTPs, potentially ESTJs as well. So, in order to get a better understanding on this, I think it might be a good idea to dissect loyalty and what exactly it is that we're talking about. As far as I can tell, loyalty boils down to mutual trust and perhaps some kind of an agreement between individuals. One, to not backstab each other, but also and this may vary between the specific circumstances within each set of individuals, but I think it also includes not quite having the other party's best interests in mind or at heart, but having their interests in mind. It's of a concern of you. Just meaning that you don't needlessly betray this individual or betray their interests. With the ENTJs, I think, for myself certainly, one of the reasons why loyalty is so important to me is because, one, when I express loyalty to someone, is something I take very seriously, and as a result, I often expect that out of other people. Like, hey, you know what? This individual, they're solid. I like having them in my corner. I want to be very loyal with this person. And so I don't typically betray people. Additionally, the way our minds work, I think that we can view and track things like trust as a resource which can be allocated. And an act of betrayal is a bit like someone paying you with a bad check. It throws everything out of whack, and then suddenly you have to look at this individual and reevaluate them like, hey, you said you were good for this, but you're not good for it, kind of way. Or someone assures you that they can cover some expense, and then they can't. It forces you to reevaluate that individual. Now, in some situations, there are circumstances that come up, and perhaps we should keep an open mind to that, but overall, take another look at this person. Maybe they're not who they said they were or who they pretended to be. I will be drinking coffee during this video, so my apologies. Please bear with it. But I need my caffeine. Okay, so if you view loyalty effectively meaning some type of trust, perhaps that trust is in some kind of a contractual basis between the two of you, if not overtly spoken, then subvertly through your habits and ways of doing things, you have some kind of an agreement about how you'll each operate in this relationship. Okay. Now, this trust is something that we track and try to measure in between individuals. And I think we also try and measure how much other people trust us. This is where I think it gets into loyalty testing. And this is where I start to have a problem with typical methods of loyalty testing. So typically when we refer to loyalty testing, this is something we would do with someone who we're building a relationship with. It would probably be either a close working relationship, or it's going into the friend territory, or maybe even into the intimate territory. At this point, we may do something. It'll probably be something foolhardy, something stupid, something callous. Effectively, we're trying to see how does this individual respond when I act out. Now, on the one hand, I can kind of understand this because, hey, how is this individual going to handle me when I'm being an asshole? Because sometimes I'm an asshole. How is this individual going to handle me when I am, quite frankly, wrong about something? When I'm just having a bad day, how are they going to handle me? These are the types of questions it seems that we typically are asking ourselves. Now, here's the problem with that, especially if you're in a growing relationship. If you do this, and if you act out in a way that you normally wouldn't behave in, people are going to take that at face value, that this is not just you testing them, or they will know that you're being testy with them, and they'll think, oh, this individual doesn't trust me, or this individual is just straightforward an asshole, or they're stupid. Either one, because they're doing the test, or two, they'll take it at face value. Either way, you're still going to get this kind of result, and it will throw off your test, your way of measuring them. So rather than trying to proactively act out, I highly recommend just being a little bit more patient and trying to think back on any moment of conflict that arose between you and this other person. Largely because an organic source of conflict is going to give you a much better read of how you're both going to interact in this case. It may also be that you want to see how does this individual respond to conflict, how do they handle pressure. Maybe your personalities just don't really for lack of a better word, spark that often. And you may want to see what it's like, so you push things a little bit more. What you could perhaps do, if you want to speed things up a little bit, is just, and more or less overtly do this, but do some kind of a team building activity together. Just be like, hey, I want to see how we handle stress with each other. Hopefully this other individual is open and receptive to that idea. I highly recommend move some furniture, put something together, just buy something at IKEA. Something cheap, but still kind of complicated, and try and put it together. Try and put the furniture together while working on it together. Oh, disregard that right there. I clearly need more caffeine. Games, I think, are a really good way to do this. Various activities as well. My personal favorite is to take an individual hunting or fishing or going on a hike together. For myself, this is a really good method to be able to get a read on someone fairly quickly. And okay. In order to explore the boundaries of your relationship, what you're more or less trying to do is you basically need to go through some kind of a adventure type process. Effectively, you both need to have a common goal, and there needs to be antagonistic forces during the process / journey to achieve said goal. This is the bare bones platform that you can use with almost any individual to get to know them better, to build the relationship, to test each other out. You can do this through a series of games, through activities, whatever it is. But the core basis effectively should be, rather than you going out and acting up like a child or something, or being stupid, is you should have a common goal, and there should be some antagonistic forces thrown in the mix. To take this to another level, you may want to have a similar setup, but have two separate goals. And working on the basis of, hey, if you help me with my goal, I'll help you with yours. I hope this helps. I don't know if this would really clear up loyalty testing for anyone else out there. But specifically for you, ENTJs, don't do the typical loyalty testing. Try and be more aware of it when you do, or when you are trying to test the boundaries of your relationship effectively and see, hey, how far can I trust this individual? Rather than acting up or anything like that, because one, it'll give you a false positive, they're more likely to tell you to go pound sand. There's a myriad of problems with doing that. Instead, just one, be open and overt with it. Hey, look, I want us to get to know each other better. Or, hey, I think this would be a cool thing to go do together. You could maybe even throw something in there letting them know, like, hey, look, I want to see how we interact. Or, hey, we seem to interact pretty good. Let's do this to test things out a little more. And hopefully this individual will be understanding and will coalesce to your request. Or you may have to figure something else out. Last but not least on this point, just trying to be observant or taking a little bit of time to recall your interactions will probably serve you much better than any loyalty test ever will. One, because you're gathering data from the wild with mixed-in factors, and in these situations they were not being observed. You may have been to an extent, but not overtly observing them for this purpose. So take a bit of time, write it down on paper if you have to. Look at any data points you already have. That's your best starting point. It will probably serve you for your purposes in almost every instance, even more so than going on a little adventure together or something like that, or a team building exercise ever will. So, there's that. What do you think on this? What kind of questions do you have? If I can, I'll try and answer them in the comments down below, or it may